out.
Immediately field position quickly seized for Florida State. McMillan stopped way back at the 35-yard line. Hendricks makes the tackle. Loss of 8 on the play.
Great recognition by David Hendricks, the senior strong safety. They wanted to run a screen to Tiger McMillan, the wide receiver, who started up the field and then was doubling back to get behind the wall. Hendricks beat the wall to the corner and tackled McMillan as soon as he caught the football.
2nd and 13. Kanell 9 of 17, 55 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Dunn again finds the hole, and look out. Warrick Dunn. They will not catch him. Touchdown, Florida State.
He is so explosive.
64 yards for the sophomore from Baton Rouge. Warrick Dunn opens it up to a 20-3 Florida State lead.
This was an example of twofold acceleration, if that's possible. He must be a 5-gear kind of guy.
Mowry with the extra point.
This is what I mean about two-stage acceleration. He explodes into the hole. Watch the first half of it. Quickly into the hole. But now the second burst right there, when the angle was taken improperly by Ryan Stewart, Dunn just blew right by him and he was gone. Take one more look right there. See, Ryan Stewart underestimated the acceleration of Warrick Dunn, and he ran right by the defensive back and into the end zone for the score.
That is the longest play from scrimmage for Florida State this year. The 64-yard touchdown for Dunn. And the Seminole faithful whistling a happy tune.
Well, that tells you also that a lot of the conversation at halftime for Bobby and his staff was, we're going to run the ball, we're going to run the ball better, take some pressure off of Danny so that the passing game can return. And when you've got a talent like Warrick Dunn, if the boys up front do the job, you get 60-yard touchdown.
I was really surprised at how much of the offensive package Bobby opened up against Duke, given the Notre Dame game and Florida games that still are looming out there. But I think he really believes that with Kanell, he's still dealing with a youngster that needs a confidence level to win those games that right now he does not have. Ball is returned to the 23-yard line by Lethan Flowers. That's where Georgia Tech will set up shop. This week's Exxon Community Spirit Award goes to NC State tight end Dallas Dickerson. Dallas is a regular volunteer in the Wolfpack outreach programs. He's also a leader in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and active in speaking to area elementary and middle schools about the importance of education. Exxon is proud to recognize NC State's Dallas Dickerson, and they'll donate $1,000 to Exxon's ACC Kids in College program in his behalf. Luganville's numbers from the first half. Now down by 18. They really need to mount something in a hurry. Williams stopped by Abraham. Clearly an All-America choice in the defensive backfield for Florida State.
You know what separates All-Americans from just good players? Players who can make plays in space. There was Clifton Abraham one-on-one with no help around him and a pretty decent running back, and he chopped him right down.
Loss of a yard, 2nd down and 11. Bush showing blitz. Luganville checks off. Williams off the right side. The trap open for a 5-yard gain. Derek Brooks makes the tackle. You know, you'd like to establish your ground game to some extent. You know, Georgia Tech doesn't want to just throw out the game plan.
Well, you have, you know, almost all of this third quarter still to play, and all of the fourth quarter. You have to fight against him, that sense of urgency, and realize, let's get things established, patterns, so that we can progress from there.
3rd and 4. Simmons is in the game. 4 wide receivers. And the out pattern to him is incomplete. Cowart may have gotten a hand on that, deflecting it or at least obstructing the view for Charlie Simmons, youngster that played at Southwest Macon.
See Tommy Luganville gesturing to the sidelines that, hey, I hit him in the numbers, and deflected or otherwise. As a wide receiver, you've got to make that play on the third down situation.
Bender to punt it away. Colsey back deep. Again, a low snap. We've seen a number of those today, and Jason got all of this one. Colsey on his heels at the 14. All the way back to the 32, maybe the 33-yard line. 58-yard punt, a 17-yard return. Florida State has it first down with an 18-point done 64-yard jaunt. The opening drive here in the third quarter, giving Florida State some cushion to work with. The ball is spotted at the 32-yard line as they open their second series of this half. Danny Kanell at quarterback with Tiger McMillan in the game, lining up at a slot left. Rock Preston is the setback. They fake to Preston, roll right to find Kes McCorvey. Oh, look at that stop. Look at that cut. Up to the 45-yard line for a first down. Keith Brooking made the tackle. The youngster from Goshen, Mississippi, and played, of course, in Pensacola. This is a guy that can stop and do a lot of things for you in underneath pattern.
Well, the Bobby Bowden philosophy is when you have the game swinging in your favor, put it away. And he'll do that by really opening things up, and has an opportunity here to put this one away if they can put it in the end zone.
Over the middle to E.G. Green. And we've got a marker down in the backfield in a position where you'd suspect holding. Keith Brooking and David Hendricks made the tackle.
Zach Pillar went to the sidelines. Another defensive lineman banged up a little bit.
We have holding on the offense, 10-yard penalty, spot of the foul. Still first down.
From the spot of the foul makes it a much longer walk-off, more like the old days when it used to be 15 yards for holding.
George O'Leary, the defensive coordinator, has a long-term package here at Georgia Tech. The reason he left Bobby Ross and the Chargers.
Done a remarkable job with all the youngsters on that defensive line.
First down and 26 after the penalty. McCorvey couldn't grab it in traffic. Plenty of coverage there. Both the safeties, Hendricks and D.
They almost did the old you take it, no you take it, and let McCorvey catch the football. But Mike D got in there and catches a piece of the ball. McCorvey mad at himself that he didn't come up with it. Kes prides himself on the ability to run inside. Florida State fans didn't like the bump, but it was as much initiated by McCorvey as it was by Mike D.
Second down and 25. Kanell with time underneath to Preston, who cradles at the 35-yard line. Jamal Cox and Lethan Flowers were there. You know, the Florida State team during this 22-game ACC win streak, they have scored better than 40 points, 13 games, between 30 and 39 points 5 times. Very rarely have they been held under 20 points during the streak, only twice. That's how dominant this offense has been since entering the ACC. 3rd and 19. Kanell. Down the sidelines to Ellison. Yes!
What a catch. Great concentration. Nathan Perryman was there, but Ellison, who scored his first 2 collegiate touchdowns last week as a 5th-year senior, comes up with the big catch.
Omar Ellison from Griffin, Georgia brings it in. That's the first time we've seen the rollout sideline pattern run by Ellison when Kanell rolled right. In the first half, he was rolling left when throwing to Omar.
Sometimes that's a result of where the ball is on the field. A little help there. You see the little push? Good job by Omar. Just a little bump to create a little more space.
We'll return after these messages from your local ACC Station.
Shoulder. This time he gets away with using his hands. Watch him, just a little touch to sped himself away from Nathan Perryman, and that's a tough catch. Looking over his outside shoulder. Big play all the way down to the Georgia Tech 20.
Little Michael Irvin move there by Omar Ellison.
You shouldn't talk about Miami guys in the Florida State game, Tim. Come on.
I don't think they haven't learned a few things
yes,
from
I
those
know.
veteran Canes. Preston. Inside the 10 to the 6. Ryan Stewart, the free safety, number 24. From Moncks Corner, South Carolina. Junior made the tackle.
Excellent block by Zach Crockett on Rodney Wilkerson. Wilkerson, the linebacker, stepped up, looked like he might keep that to just a yard or two, and as he was bearing down on Preston, he ran into Crockett, and Crockett actually outweighs him by about 10 pounds, and he made the block to turn the corner.
No tight end in the game in this situation for Kanell, who's 3 of 4 here in the third for 63 yards. Preston off the right side. Touchdown.
Crockett again, Tim. What a great job by the Florida State fullback to lead the way for Rock Preston into the end zone. You think of the razzle-dazzle with Bobby Bowden Seminoles, but in the last couple of weeks, as they have used more of that two-back set again, Zach Crockett's importance to this team has grown along with it.
The extra point is good, and it's 28-3. You know, if you look at Florida State from a running standpoint, I mean, this is a simple look. Lead isolation, toss sweep, off the belly series, but they do it so effectively with tremendous athletes.
Watch Zach Crockett, number 32, right into the hole, stand up Rodney Wilkerson, and all he can get is an arm on Rock Preston, and that's not going to be enough. And I'll tell you why this two-back set is important for the Florida State Seminoles. Bobby Bowden and his staff either saw highlights or by this time have the tapes of what Boston College did on the ground to Notre Dame. If that guy, Zach Crockett, number 32, can continue to lead the way for Preston and Dunn and the rest of the running backs, they can control the clock on the Irish next week like Boston College did and like the Irish did to Florida State last year.
Something to remember, too, that 2 years ago, Bobby Bowden didn't discover the fast break offense with Charlie Ward until Georgia Tech had a 24-14 lead with just over 5 to play. When he went with that offense exclusively, Charlie Ward got the win. They stayed with him the next year and a half and claimed a national championship. Lethan Flowers, 5 yards deep. He'll bring it out. Buried at the 15-yard line. James Roberson down there, number 47, to make the tackle for Florida State. Another nice scoring drive on the ground and in the air. The key pass, of course, setting it up to Omar Ellison. Preston.
The absence of a ground game this afternoon has really plagued Georgia Tech, and it has been the improvement on the ground that has certainly helped Florida State. I'd say that's a slight edge, 134-4.
Swing pattern out to Zachary. Zachary, who has easily been the go-to guy in this Georgia Tech offense today.
Well, we've talked about the absence of Jimmy Lincoln. Mel Bowers was going to be a running back. It really bears note here, we're delinquent in that regard, Tim, that we've not talked about the absence of Derek Stegall, who got hurt in the ball game against North Carolina.
Harvey Middleton.
And Harvey Middleton. They were the multiple players, guys who could play in a number of different spots that really helped this offense go. 1st and 10
with the ball just short of the 28. Luganville over the middle to Vance, and Big Todd lumbers out to the 39-yard line for another first down. Eric Smith and Darrell Bush combine on the tackle.
Well, with the larger lead, it appears that Florida State is not firing as much up the field as they were before, and on consecutive pass plays, they pick up first downs. The Yellow Jackets do.
Underneath route should be there and is. Omar Cassidy hauls that one in. They'll say he was out of bounds, though. Took that quick step anticipating the hit. I think he felt a few footsteps from Corey Fuller.
Corey Fuller was bearing down on him. Well, Luganville double pumped as well, and it depends on which foot was down first. And apparently the outside one was, so it's 2nd and 10.
There's Barry Proughton, the offensive coordinator, down on the field now. He began the season up in the booth. 2nd and 10. Ball at the 39-yard line. Simmons in the game at the top of your screen. Simmons will get it on the quick out. Pitch and go to the 43-yard line of Florida State. James Roberson again making the tackle, the senior linebacker. Left defensive end. Corey Fuller there to help out.
Nice target when you're a quarterback to have a guy 6'3", 205 with good quickness as well. Charlie's a guy who's going to let somebody give him a look or two about playing football after his final season here at Tech.
Over the middle again. Zachary makes the catch and Bush makes the tackle. And, you know, we haven't touched on Donnie Davis today because, frankly, they haven't thrown him the ball. But Donnie Davis, I think, is an amazing story. Here's a guy that, coming out of North Carolina, was highly touted, was a quarterback. He went over to Crowton and said, look, I want to play. Put me at receiver. He may have a future at the next level as a wide receiver.
He was an outstanding receiver before he became a quarterback in high school. His sophomore year in high school, he was one of the best receivers in the state of Carolina.
2nd and 5. Luganville lofts it for Simmons. He will score.
Great anticipation of the blitz. Simmons was the hot receiver, and Luganville laid it in there perfectly. I'll tell you what, with 8:45 to play, while it's still a 3-score advantage, this one is not totally gone for the Yellow Jackets if they can do something on defense, and Bobby Bowden knows that. He didn't like how quickly Georgia Tech moved down the field and put the touchdown on the board. Blitz is on. Good inside release by Charlie Simmons. And with his size, it's a mismatch for Corey Fuller.
Leon for the extra point. Until now, he was accountable for all of Georgia Tech's points. Bad snap again. Well, they had some problems with snaps, both on punts and now on an extra point. But they get it down. The holder did a very nice job that time, Graham Stroman. And Simmons, the recipient of most of the passes on that drive. Both he and Zachary utilized well by Tommy Luganville.
Blitz was coming. He recognized it, lofted it out there. Nice one-handed grab and the use of his body as well to shield Fuller away from the football. Charlie Simmons with the touchdown catch to get Georgia Tech's first touchdown. And as I said, Tim, there's 8:45 still to play here in the third quarter.
You and I both know that Mickey Andrews didn't say, look, let's back off. But what they did do was allow Luganville the underneath pattern. And when they did that, they allowed an opportunity for Georgia Tech to move the ball downfield quickly and get a quick touchdown.
You're exactly right. They didn't want the quick strike. They were willing to let him have the underneath routes. What it did was allow Tommy to regain his rhythm.
Yeah.
And a quarterback has to have rhythm. It's like a shooting guard in basketball or a pitcher in baseball. You have to get into the flow again. And Tommy found it on that drive.
And I don't believe Mickey Andrews and the defensive staff at Florida State felt that with that kind of coverage that Luganville could move them down as quickly as he did. I mean, that defense was designed to hold Georgia Tech at bay with a long drive lasting 5 or 6 minutes. That was not the case. Leon with a high, almost pooch type of kick. McMillan brings it in. Tiger McMillan bounces off a couple of tacklers and is down at the 33-yard line. That's where it'll be 1st and 10. Eric Billingsley, the first to make contact. Our Jefferson Pilot Sports scores.
Duke regaining the lead.
Stop throwing the dirt on Duke. Penn State with a lead over Indiana. That game being played in Bloomington.
The number on the JP score line for other scores around the area. As we come into play today, Florida State with the advantage. Duke and Virginia battling for the right to take over sole possession of second place, and Duke at home has the lead in the third quarter.
That NC State-Duke game could have a lot to say with regard to the coalition spots where bowls are concerned out of the ACC next week. Zach Crockett makes the carry, and Freddie Koger there to bring him down. And speaking of that, Duke and NC State hook up, as do this same Georgia Tech club against Clemson. The Tigers looking to find some offense next Saturday. Note the special time at 3:30 Eastern Time.
And I will be there in Raleigh. Looking forward to that Duke State matchup.
Danny Kanell off the play fake. Looks to McCorvey. Tipped into the air. Intercepted by Leathon Flowers. Down at the 30-yard line. And here come the Ramblin' Wreck.
That was deflected by several players. Leathon Flowers gets his second interception of the afternoon. The third thrown by Danny Kanell. The second time he is at a deflected interception. Play fake on the draw to Warrick Dunn, trying to go down the middle of the field. And it looked like Jamal Cox hit it first. Then it was also deflected by Keith Brooking, and Leathon Flowers comes away with the football and takes it all the way back to the Florida State 31. A touchdown here, and buckle up your seatbelts.
Absolutely. Georgia Tech, a 23-point underdog coming in with an opportunity to get closer. 28-10 our score, 7:56 remaining in the third quarter. Straight drop for Lookendale. Now the pressure from Cowell. He gets away. Markers go down as Lookendale opts for the boundary at the 23-yard line. But again, the flag back in the Georgia Tech backfield.
Looks like Kanell, the freshman right tackle, took down the man he was blocking. And the holding call from the 34-35-yard line will push it all the way back to the Florida State 45. It'll make it
holding. We're here, 10-yard penalty.
Make it about 1st and 24. Watch the center of your screen right there as Kanell, there's no doubt there. Now watch him take him down as Reinhard Wilson is rolled from behind. That was, I think they would have allowed the hand on the jersey, but when he rolled into the back of the legs, that was the final piece that brought the penalty flag.
Solage, a 6'4", 246-pound freshman out of Armonk, New York.
Now they had Solage in the ball game because the speed rushers have been getting around the bigger man, Jason Dukes, excuse me.
1st and 25 from the 45 of Florida State. 3 wide receivers and C.J. Williams the lone setback. Quick drop. That one was read nicely by the Florida State defense. Zachary, the intended receiver, probably a good thing he didn't catch it because he was ready to be absolutely cracked.
Well, a very costly penalty for Georgia Tech because it just changed the sequence of play calling with long yardage situations now here on every down. That Florida State front 4, 5, or 6, depending on how many they want to send, are really going to be coming because they're not worried about the draw play or whatever, because it's not going to gain that much yardage to make it more difficult.
Georgia Tech signaling for the possibility of a timeout. Actually, it's Florida State that's talking with officials now.
Derek Brooks saying he was just signaling the defense to Sean Hamlet in the secondary. He was making
no
like
timeout.
Yeah.
No timeout.
He was making a triangle-like or diamond-like signal, and the officials interpreted it as a timeout call by Brooks.
Bobby's going to start looking at those intricate defensive signals and maybe make a few changes next week. 2nd and 23. Ball at the 44-yard line. Lookendale with time to Zachary. Threw it behind him. He had to adjust and couldn't come up with it. Sean Hamlet was there to provide coverage. Luganville still limping. Boy,
he's taking a lot of hits today. Tommy, as he said, he's a guy who does whatever he has to do to get it done. How about slinging it 3/4 arm that time to get it through the on-rushing Seminoles?
Gary Crowton looks on.
They're going to try and do this in 2 plays, I think. Try and get about 10 back here and then try again on 4th down to get the other half.
3rd and 23. Luganville, no, going for all of it to Davis. Abraham, boy, that's just a great job of coverage by Clifton Abraham, riding his man, bringing back really some memories of Deion Sanders and the ability to just ride your man. Yeah, there may be some help, but it's not necessarily needed when Clifton's there.
Gary Crowton tried to cross up Florida State. The conventional thought to do it in a couple of plays. They went for the home run ball, and as Tim described it, Clifton Abraham had excellent coverage. He usually does.
Colsey standing at his 10, and Bender will shoot for the coffin corner here. Bad punt off the side of his foot. Does get a nice bounce, though, and it'll go out of bounds at the 10-yard line. Not pretty, but effective for the nation's second leading punter. 35 yards, but more importantly, Bill Lewis has Florida State backed up.
Trouble getting into your jeans? Try Relax Fit Jeans from Lee.
Be with us on this ACC Saturday afternoon in November.
You got to believe that Georgia Tech wants to put a lot of pressure on Danny Kanell, who has thrown the 3 interceptions. Florida State will probably counter by running the football if they can.
Out of the I formation, first back through, picks up 4. That'll be Crockett, stopped by Jamal Cox. You know, in talking with George O'Leary about Jamal Cox defensively, he says, you know, he's really excelled. But yeah, you have to remember, George O'Leary has spent a lot of time in the pros now, and he says that Cox needs to separate off a block. In other words, when you're hit, separate yourself so that you can cover more laterally. That's the one area he'd like to see Cox improve in. 2nd and 5. Out of the shotgun, it worked with Warrick, but not with Rock. Preston is grabbed by Patrick Bradford, number 79, sophomore from Georgetown, South Carolina.
Let's watch Jamal Cox in the middle of that Georgia Tech secondary, anticipating a run. Patrick Bradford did a good job of fighting off the block, and Cox was moving to be a part of the play, but the true freshman out of Georgetown, South Carolina, Patrick Bradford, with a good tackle in open field.
3rd and 7. Preston again. Oh, that's a big stop for Georgia Tech. And I think also sends a message that Bobby Bowden is a little concerned about Danny Kanell's confidence.
Didn't want to make him in a 3rd and long yardage situation feel like he had to force something. So they run the ball again. Good defense by Georgia Tech, that young defensive front. And again, with the injury to Sean Lish, you've got a backup punter, Dan Mowry, the place kicker, is punting. And Lethan Flowers this time is not even into Tech territory. He's up around midfield.
Mowry gets it away at the 5. Boy, a nice punt, sending Flowers back to his 42. Gets away. Nice cutback to the 46-yard line. That's where Georgia Tech will open, but a beautiful punt by Mowry in relief of the injured Sean Liss. Andy Crow made the tackle. Well, if Georgia Tech got no points out of that last turnover by Danny Kanell in Florida State, they did at least get some field position to work with 5:19 left in the 3rd.
In that touchdown drive, they had great productivity on 1st down. That's what they need to have. Get themselves into those 2nd and 3rd and mediums or shorts. Then you negate a lot of the aggressiveness of that Florida State defense. A lot of that speed up front.
Omar Cassidy comes wide to the bottom of your screen. Williams, the lone setback, and he gets the carry. And he picks up 5. That first down carry of better than 4 yards is awfully important to the confidence of Tommy Luganville. Derek Brooks leading the charge defensively.
But they need to score on this possession, Tim. They can't expect to score 3 times in the 4th quarter against Florida State if they want to pull the upset.
2nd and 5. Zachary over the middle is who Luganville wants to find, and opts instead for Williams. And the safety valve turns into a first down at the 40-yard line before Devin Bush made the tackle.
C.J. Williams was playing the nickelback a month ago, and now the redshirt freshman out of West Point, Georgia, on a busted play, turns potential trouble into a Georgia Tech first down. Good balance here because he took a pretty good lick and got another 6 yards after the hit by Derek Alexander.
He'll be playing some hoops, will C.J. Williams, once the football season is over. That's a 42-inch vertical jump. 4.4 speed, and he gets the carry again down to the 35-yard line. Todd Rebold made the tackle. Now this guy, C.J. Williams, a few weeks ago, he didn't even know how to huddle offensively. I mean, he didn't know where to go, where to line up. What am I supposed to do, guys? And now all of a sudden, he really is the back that they rely on most for that tough yardage on first down.
And now they're going without a huddle, trying to quicken the tempo here.
2nd and 5. Over the middle to Zachary. Stopped short of the first down, just outside the Florida State 30 by Colsey and Hamlet.
Had the all-out blitz coming. Luganville saw it, had the little slant pass underneath to Zachary and got close to first down yardage. Now they bring Jimmy Lincoln into the ball game. I think Williams wanted a quick breather. Donnie Davis is also checked in.
Donnie Davis will come split wide to the near side on a 3rd and 1 with Lincoln the lone setback. Simmons at the top of your screen. He had the touchdown catch here in the 3rd quarter. And he's thinking look in while Luganville's thinking out pattern.
Well, I think he expected, Tommy Luganville did, that Charlie Simmons was going to run the hitch route to get the first down on the checkoff. Simmons thought it was the hitch and go. And it nearly went into the hands of Corey Fuller the opposite way.
Yeah, that hitch and go could have come and gone the other way.
Well, you had 3rd and short, so you can try something. Now you got 4th and short. On a conversion you have to make, and Georgia Tech takes their first time out of the 2nd half. Good work here on 4th down to keep the drive alive. I mean, you could say to yourself, well, we kick a field goal and cut it down to 2 touchdowns, but you're asking an awful lot of Chris Leone. That would be a 47-yard attempt, and with the yardage they have to make, hey, you got to, college football all the way down to the Pee-wees and up through the NFL. When you get into those half-yard situations, sometimes you just got to say, strap it on, guys, because we've got to get this.
Time for a little power football. 2-back set. Vance is in the game at tight end. Donnie Davis and Cassidy are the wide receivers.
Now, right now, the cornerbacks are well off the outside receivers.
Nothing doing. Bush and Alexander combined. And you could really tell that Florida State could see that one coming.
They anticipated the run, and Derek Alexander with the great penetration. Watch number 90 right here. Just knife right through and destroy the play. That's why he is an All-American.
And how much will that deflate Georgia Tech defensively? This is the time when you're 1-6 and you're doing those gut checks, you begin to think, well, is it time now for the team to roll over? You may find out on this drive. Quick pitch. They fake the double reverse. And here goes Warrick again. Dunn to the 40-yard line. And he took Lethan Flowers with him for the last couple of yards.
Well, you remember earlier in the game, they ran the pitch to a reverse, and it was smothered by the Georgia Tech defense. This time, Warrick Dunn fakes the handoff, cuts back against the grain, and there he goes again. Dunn has had a wonderful third quarter on the ground.
1st and 10 for Kanell at the 40. Out of the eye. Crockett, 6'2", 242-pound senior, stopped by Grant Bainham, sophomore out of North Augusta, South Carolina, converted tight end.
Now note to this point, since Kanell's last interception, Georgia Tech has seen Florida State run 5 plays from scrimmage. They have all been running plays.
Andre Cooper is coming to the game at wideout. Again, the eye set on 2nd and 7 for Kanell. Again, the rollout left. And under tremendous pressure from Raleigh Boulware, Kanell dumps it incomplete.
I'll tell you what, Kes McCorvey, I guess, was the intended receiver, or Melvin Pearsall short. But that ball was about 15 yards away from either one of them. McCorvey was in the end zone, and Pearsall was on the line of scrimmage, and that ball hit at about the 20-yard line.
Omar Ellison comes in. Andre Cooper checks out. Kes McCorvey remains in the game. Kes has been playing with a separated shoulder since the Maryland game. 3rd and 7. Rifles it to Kes, and McCorvey appears to have the first down. At the 29-yard line is where they'll mark it. Nathan Perriman made the tackle. Very safe route to run for Kanell.
To your most consistent receiver, the veteran McCorvey. Little turn-in route. Right in the crease of the zone. Get the first down yardage. Get that clock moving again down to 1:20 here in the third quarter.
Seminoles led 14-3 at halftime. Kanell gets it away. Oh, just a nice play by Danny Kanell to dump it to Dunn, who's down inside the 25 at the 24. Well, Jamal Cox had provided much pressure along with Freddie Coger.
Danny Kanell at 6'4" and 215 pounds can hang in there sometimes and avoid the sack. Pressure coming on. And right there, Freddie Coger had him but couldn't hang on to him. Dunn banged up a little bit on the play, and he's been helped to the sidelines. Rock Preston back in at tailback.
Danny's got some strength. I mean, we're talking a guy 6'4", 220. It's not easy to get him down, but he's by far and away an easier target than what they're accustomed to in Tallahassee. Preston, Rock Preston. What a block by Pearsall. And down inside the 15 at the 13-yard line, Rock Preston ridden out by Jamal Cox and Nathan Perriman. Boy, Melvin Pearsall, the tight end, who has 2 touchdown catches today, threw a super block on the sideline to spring.
Well, they've moved that young man. He was a linebacker when he began in the Florida State program. They moved him to offense, put about 25 more pounds on him. And they really like what he does in both parts of the package, the run blocking and the catching ability at the tight end spot.
1st and 10, and Kanell hands to Crockett. Sack. Manages to make the 8-yard line, pick up of a couple. And we've come to the end of the third quarter. Florida State on the move as we close out the third period. Another case of missed opportunities for the Ramblin' Wreck. Had a loss a season ago, and it even came late in the year and managed to win a national championship. Quite a different scene on the Georgia Tech sideline as George O'Leary and Bill Lewis look on at defense, trying to hold down the fort against Florida State with 2nd and 7 at the 7. Preston off one tackler, almost off 2 and down to the 4-yard line. Jamal Cox made the tackle. The Lee Apparel game summary after 3 quarters looks this way.
The ground game has been the unbelievable difference. I don't know the last time I can recall Florida State having more rushing yardage than passing yardage. You have to go back a little ways to find that stat.
And how much of that yardage, I'm certain a great deal of it, coming off of the shotgun formation when Warrick Dunn, A, just took the snap, B, got the quick handoff.
Now Florida State has to take a timeout here. Todd Ford, one of their tackles, dinged up a little bit on the play. And
Todd's a young man out of Tifton, Georgia, one of those farm boys. In fact, during the bye week, Todd Fordham went home to the farm, fell off a tractor. His dad had him working. He told the Florida State staff, he said, you know, I think during those open weeks, I'll just stay in Tallahassee.
Problem with the right leg right now. Looked like he got it rolled in the play. As Bill Noose knifed through on the play and made contact with Rock Preston in the backfield, but couldn't finish him off. And Preston was able to kick it outside and get it down to the 4. So they have it 3rd and 3. They can get a first down without scoring a touchdown. The Seminole marching Chiefs. I'll tell you what, of course, this is the closest ACC site for Florida State fans, but they came in good numbers.
Oh, yeah. And they always will. They love coming to Atlanta. You go talk to these kids, they'll tell you, too, the difference between the tomahawk chop in Tallahassee and the tomahawk chop in Atlanta. Oh, absolutely. It's a completely different chop.
Oh, okay.
There's no movement of the elbow in Tallahassee. Now, you can move elbow, and in fact, body movements are allowed over at Braves games, but not in Tallahassee.
Wholesale changes made on both sides, as on 3rd down here, Florida State has their jumbo offense in with the 2 tight ends and only 1 wide receiver.
Preston dots the I. And Crockett, the first back through, hammered at the line of scrimmage by Patrick Bradford. That'll bring up 4th down.
No decision yet as to whether or not Dan Mowry would come on and try a field goal, or...
Well, see, here's one of those situations where Bobby Bowden may be coaching for one of those pivotal games against Florida or Notre Dame when it's 4th down and you have to make a decision. Well, now Mowry will come in to kick.
Well, the last 3 games on the schedule for Florida State will be challenging, because not only do they have the Notre Dame and Florida games, they have a game on the 19th in Raleigh against NC State, which has a pretty fair defense.
Absolutely. Mowry's field goal is good. Chip shot for Dan, who has been kicking well in relief of Mr. Bentley. And it's 31-10 for Bobby's boys. Moral victory for the Georgia Tech defense, keeping Florida State out of the end zone and holding this one to 21. Mowry, who has just been booting extremely well on kickoffs today, takes that one through the end zone.
It hasn't made any difference which end of the field. He has hit every kickoff well into the end zone. Flowers, on an earlier one, I think, was so frustrated he ran it out anyway. Didn't even get it to the 20. So Dan Mowry has done his job in that regard.
I think Dan Mowry is experiencing one of those great feelings of comebacks. Gee, look what I can do, and the adrenaline is really flowing with him. Even the misses that he's had have been those hooks that usually come from getting out in front of it a bit too quickly. Luganville opens up at the 20-yard line for Georgia Tech. 1st and 10. Swing pattern to C.J. Williams. Brooks makes the open field stop at the 25-yard line.
Derek Brooks with that great open field quickness. High school defensive player of the year out of Pensacola. Got an awful lot of football yet in his future.
Pickup of 6. It'll be 2nd and 4. Play clock winding down to 1. A little mix up there, but Williams manages to get back to the line of scrimmage. Sam Cowart made the tackle. Seems to be a little confusion offensively for Luganville. He was utilizing a lot of that play clock to adjust his team with that audible.
Said something to Michael Cheever afterwards, his center, like, I wanted that a little sooner than you gave it to me, Michael.
3rd and 5. Quick drop. They swing it out. Flanker screen complete to Zachary. Cedric Zachary with a first down at the 36. Robert Hammond, the backup free safety, made the tackle.
Zachary does a great job of making people miss in the open field. That's such an important factor for a wide receiver, particularly when you're running this quick screen. Good step around move there to get the first down yardage and keep the Georgia Tech drive alive.
That's the first 3rd down conversion of the half for Georgia Tech. They had 2 conversions early in the game and then were 0 for 7 on 3rd down conversions to open this one. Williams out to the 40-yard line. Todd Rebo made the tackle. And look at that.
Wow.
Boy, that should secure Duke no worse than a 3rd in the coalition. And for Fred Goldsmith, no doubt he's the coach of the year.
Well, and what's most interesting about that score, the fact that Virginia has played so well defensively this year to give up 4 touchdowns. They haven't done that since they played Florida State the first week of the season.
Really makes that Duke-NC State matchup all the more important next week. That pass incomplete.
NC State playing Maryland today. Now, NC State has played 1 less conference game, but they only have the 1 loss in the conference, that to North Carolina.
Well, there are 4 coalition spots where bowls are concerned out of the ACC. And you figure Virginia right now, as it stands, would have been in position for that 2nd hole. It also gives Carolina new life for the 2nd position where the coalition is concerned if that score holds up. 3rd and 6. Luganville steps up and tucks it. Boy, you got to get away from Derek Brooks. And Derek will be flagged.
The flag is going to be for an illegal block.
Yep, it's further upfield. You're right. We've got 2 of them down. One was thrown right at Brooks. The other one upfield for an illegal block. And that's why we're having this conference. Dale Phillips will weed out the problem. You know, it's interesting. This is a recruiting time for the spring sports. We've already seen Bobby Crimmins, Derek Wittenberg, and a number of Georgia Tech basketball recruits. Last time I had Florida State and Georgia Tech, it was in the College World Series. The outcome was Georgia Tech's way. Danny Hall was the proud winner in that matchup against Mike Martin's Seminoles. And yes, indeed, the penalty will go against Georgia Tech.
A block below the waist.
And I think Bill Lewis a little perplexed that one flag came down right at the feet of Derek Brooks as he pushed Luganville out of bounds. When you're 1-6, it seems as if you can't get a break from the men in the striped shirts.
Bill still trying to get a clarification on that one. I don't think he felt the blocker made initial contact above the waist and then went down below.
3rd and 19 for Luganville.
Luganville did not have the first down in the scramble anyway.
Brooks showing blitz, and we've got markers down. Jason Dukes appeared to move prematurely. The right tackle. All 6'7", 321 pounds of him.
Dead ball. Ball start. Offense.
Look at that. Chuck Verneau and Jason Dukes, like an old wedge block, if you would. Hanging at hands there. Jason let go too soon.
That would be, correct me if I'm wrong, a technique for width.
Worrying about your splits, that's a possibility.
3rd and 24.
They're doing it again over there.
Yeah. Another marker down as Luganville airs it out for Bender. Incomplete. And Hammond may have got a hand on that one. Robert Hammond deflecting that one away. Nice play by Robert. But the marker in the Georgia Tech backfield as the Yellow Jackets continue to back up.
Florida State, I'm sure, will decline the penalty. Robert Hammond, the young man who made that last play, was the young man who wrote a diary on his high school recruiting as he came out of Louisiana. That's an excellent effort, fully extended. He's a young man out of, well, you're the Louisiana man. I'll let you do it exactly. Is it Opelousas or?
Opelousas.
Opelousas.
Opelousas, Louisiana. 4th and 24, Bender to punt it away. High spiraling punt. Colsey brings it in at the 33. Down at the 34. Bulldogged by Jimmy Clements. 44-yard punt for Bender. 1st and 10 for Florida State with the ball and with the lead. Oh, did he bring him down or what? Tim Brando, Jack Corrigan with you. This game truly has been a case of missed opportunities for Georgia Tech when Danny Kanell has erred.
Well, 3 interceptions for Danny in the football game, but every time the Georgia Tech offense had an opportunity to make something happen after the turnovers, it didn't pan out that way because the Florida State defense was able to stop them.
Out of the eye set, Kanell. Hands to Warrick Dunn. Ridden down at the 42-yard line by Jamal Cox.
It was interesting yesterday in our conversations with both coaches, but in particular with Bobby Bowden, Tim, about playing on the carpet. First time in 20 games since the kickoff classic in the Meadowlands last year that the Seminoles have played on the turf. And Bobby said, you know, other than the injury risk, which seems to happen more on the artificial surface, he loves playing on it because he says, I love the game fast, and you just play quicker because the footing is consistent.
Well, it makes guys like Warrick Dunn quicker, as if they need to be.
Right.
He's into Tech territory at the 48-yard line. Mike D, the sophomore from Fort Walton Beach, made the tackle.
It's been a good day for the offensive line in terms of creating the holes, as the Florida State running game is going to go over 200 yards on the afternoon, and for the first time in a long time they will pile up, in all likelihood, more yards on the ground than through the air. Something else for defenses to consider in future weeks.
Play fake for Kanell, and a good one. Dumps it to McCorvey for the first down, and then some. Down at the 26-yard line, Hendricks and Flowers collaborate on the tackle.
It's been a quiet day for Kez McCorvey, but look at the yards per carry for Warrick Dunn, nearly 15 yards a carry. That's the kind of excitement that young man brings to the Florida State offense every time he touches the football.
And as I mentioned earlier, he has asserted himself as a quiet leader for this club, while Kanell is finding the way as the starting quarterback. Out pattern for Philip Riley. They'll rule it incomplete. Harriman was over there to provide coverage against Riley, who sees a lot of time returning kicks and sometime as a receiver.
Nathan Perryman trying to provide the coverage. Got to get 1 foot solidly in bounds before you go out of bounds, and running right into our camera folks there on the near sidelines. Riley couldn't get the foot down legally.
2nd and 10 with Omar Ellison in the game, and Duke's lead now down to 3 against Virginia in the 4th. There goes Warrick Dunn. Boy, how did he find that seam. You know, I think sometimes with a back like a Warrick Dunn, he slips and slides off tackles. It's not so much he bounces, though he can do that, but he'll slip and slide into some spots because of the lack of size that other backs simply can't.
Well, what you have to do is make people miss. Avoid giving a tackler, as he did right there, both your shoulders or both your hips. See how he always is twisting? He's never going to give you a full target to aim at, and that's why he can dart in and out and get the extra yardage. They're going to take a timeout here on 3rd and 2.
Alter that abdominal region, right?
That's it.
A lesson in anatomy from Jack Corrigan. Of course, the Orange Bowl. Look at that. A remarkable job he did. This is, after all, a program that can boast of John Heisman and Bobby Dodd, and those national titles continuing on into the 90s. Zach Crockett carries inside the 15 down to the 13-yard line. I had an opportunity to visit with Bobby Dodd during the Georgia Tech game shortly before he passed, and I got to tell you, I've never met a man more into it later on in life. I mean, you could almost feel that he could go down and coach at that point in his life.
Like Frank Howard at Clemson. You sometimes feel like Frank wants to still get out there.
And you wanted to take everything he said, put it in a time capsule, and bring it back someday. Nice play fake by Kanell. He has plenty of room. He forces it to Ellison, but in a position where no one else could make the play. Smart maneuver by Danny Kanell. Freddie Koger was providing some pressure before Kanell unloaded. 2nd and 10.
Getting back to your point about the national championship teams, the guy who was the architect of the last Georgia Tech national championship team, the 1990 squad, Bobby Ross, if he's not in town yet, will be shortly, because the San Diego Chargers are playing the Falcons at the Georgia Dome tomorrow. George O'Leary was on Bobby's staff here at Tech, went to San Diego, and now back with the Yellow Jackets.
Well, he worked with Bill Arnsparger, one of the best, one of the legends of defensive coaching in San Diego. 2nd and 10, and there's Dunn. This time he's ridden back. Zach Pillar the first to get there with a little help from Ron Rogers. You know, that's one of the real problems, though, that face. We talk about all of that tradition and the national titles, and that's part of the problem that faces Bill Lewis. Really, I mean, a guy that was National Coach of the Year in '91, he didn't suddenly become a poor coach. He just had a lot of bad breaks. But when you've got athletes that are young, though they may be freshmen, many times I think fans forget the fact that these kids are redshirt freshmen or true freshmen. All they see is the great athlete in the headgear and shoulder pad. 3rd and 9. Kanell, the out pattern to Ellison, incomplete.
Well, if there is one concern here in this ball game, as it's been for much of the last month or so for Florida State, not being as effective down in the scoring zone. They're coming away with points most of the time. They've had some struggling with their field goal unit this year, and that's why Mowry is in rather than Scott Bentley. But they're not scoring as many touchdowns as they want down in the red zone.
Mowry will try a 30-yard field goal. His first was a 21-yarder. I mean, absolutely straight through. That's got to be good news for Bobby Bowden as he gets ready for the stretch run in what could be close games, to have that kicking game where he'd like it to be. Coming up next Saturday, our Exxon ACC game of the week. North Carolina State hosts Duke in between two defenders, and Vance couldn't come up with it.
Well, Colsey took it right out of Vance's hands.
He really did, because that pass was right on target, and it did get to Vance, but on the way down, James Colsey ripped it free.
James Colsey, you might recognize the name if it's the first time you've seen that young man play much, is Uncle Neil Colsey, an outstanding defensive back at Ohio State and with the Raiders in the National Football League. James got to feel better. He had the fumbled punt for a Duke score last week, and there had been some talk that he was going to be taken off the punt teams, but he, look at that score. Clemson springing an upset at Chapel Hill.
Quick pitch to Tiger McMillan out of Kissimmee, Florida. Snuffed out that time the defensive play made by James Richards, number 54, that freshman we mentioned earlier out of Calhoun, Georgia. 5'18" and counting. Well, you know, North Carolina, Thad Busby is coming to the game at quarterback in relief of Danny Kanell. So we closed the books on Kanell. There are the numbers on Busby, who just moved ahead of Stark as the number 2 quarterback for Florida State a couple of weeks ago.
Maybe the most athletic of the 3 quarterbacks.
Freshman from Hialeah Lakes in Miami. Rendell Long is checked into the game in the backfield, and it's Rendell who's now trying to block for Tiger McMillan. A marker down, and McMillan down in the grasp of Keith Brooking, the freshman, 6'3", 205-pounder. You know, that North Carolina score, Dale Phillips will sort this out as we have the flag.
We have holding on the offense. Penalties refused. 3rd down.
You know, you begin to wonder, where North Carolina is concerned, the constant barrage of questions concerning Mack Brown's future. What impact that might be having on the Tar Heels. His name surfacing with both Oklahoma and LSU. He was coordinators at both of those schools, and frankly, that may be a real problem for him in dealing with the press and perhaps the players. I mean, they're human too. 3rd and 13. Busby rolls left, looks for Riley. He couldn't quite find that one. Got turned around with Perriman over there covering, along with Hendricks. Some pressure coming from Raleigh Bulware and forcing Busby to unload. You know, I'll oftentimes find it interesting. Dan Mallory's into punt when coaches are hit with those kinds of questions. They say they already have a coach. I've got a job to do. What else are you going to say?
Well, that's right. I mean,
what else could you possibly say?
It's not like the pros where they have tampering rules, you know.
4th and 13, and Mallory, who's done a tremendous job. You can't overlook what he's done in relief of Sean List today. Ethan Flowers brings it in, and look at him go. And boy, does he have plenty of room. Mallory makes the tackle. I mean, Dan Mallory's got to feel as good about that as Lethan Flowers does over the return.
Got a flag on the play as well. Dan Mallory with a terrific hit. Eyeballing Flowers and leading with his head. That's not always the best way to do it, but he got the job done.
Yeah, he says, though, I'm no Garo Upremian. I can make a tackle. Here's Dale Phillips again. It is a hold on the return, so that'll set Georgia Tech back in keeping with their theme through the course of this season. Dan Mallory has been a valuable Seminole today.
He is their special teams captain. And, you know, quite frankly, after the problems he had a couple of years ago and then the ballyhooed recruitment of Scott Bentley, who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, you know, Mallory could have just walked away from it and said, I don't need it anymore, but he hung around, stayed a part of the program, and now taking advantage of the opportunity presented to him again. Because of the holding call, you do it from the point of possession, so you do it from where Flowers caught the punt, because the holding took place in the air. They don't do it from the end of the run back, they do it from the point of the change of possession. So
that's about a 50-yard penalty.
At least
52, 53, somewhere in there. 3:58 remaining. 1st and 10 for Georgia Tech.
Stroman back in the ball again.
He had one series that led to a turnover. This time a sack. Florida State wants the safety. They won't get it. It'll be down at the 1. Andre Wadsworth made the tackle. Tough day for Stroman coming into the game at a time when Luganville had been struggling, had been nicked up. And then on a blitz from Brooks, Todd Rebo knocked the ball free, and that gave really Florida State the touchdown that opened the game up. It was a 7-3 game at that point, midway in the second quarter.
The Seminole fans in that end zone making a lot of noise for Graham Stroman.
Stroman out of his end zone, looking for Bender. Could have been intercepted. Samurai Roll, the freshman, 6'1", 160-pounder, had an opportunity at the pick.
Roll nearly had the interception, and the ball still hit Bender in the midsection, but the change of rotation after the deflection makes it tough for a receiver to make the play, and so Graham Stroman will look again and see what kind of play you can call from your own goal line on 3rd and 22.
Ouch. Mixture of starters and backups in defensively for Florida State. Stroman running for his life. Gets it away incomplete. And he was sandwiched. Howard was in there, as was Boulware. 56 and 98 respectively, and it's a punt formation. It doesn't seem to matter who they put in at this stage. I mean, they have cinched the kill with 2:54 to play.
Again, it's that overall team speed. It almost seems from first to last player for Florida State.
Just did get it away. Nice job by Bender. Colsey at the 36 with room down the sideline, and he's ushered out of bounds. Keith Brooking took him out. 2:45 to play. Georgia Tech, a 23-point underdog, trails by about that margin.
It might surprise you that a lot of folks do their holiday shopping at True Value. You see, we've got just what you need to wrap up a happy holiday. Still, some people just can't wait to get to those big discount stores. And wait. And wait. Well, now at True Value, get 2 Master Electrician flashlights for just $6.99. And these battery booster cables are just $6.97. So, why wait? True Value. Christmas is just around the corner.
To discover the real difference between the world's 2 leading soft drinks, we're implementing an anthropological study. Chimp A will be allowed nothing but Coke. Chimp B, nothing but Pepsi. The results are astounding. The chimp that drank Coke showed improvement in motor skills. The chimp that drank Pepsi, however, disappeared.
Hello? It's him!
I've got money in my clothes, money in your clothes, and music in my ears, music in your ears, and love, oh love, sweet love is in my heart. Oh, love is in your heart, money in my clothes, music in my ears, 'cause my baby loves me when I've got money in my clothes.
Today's Exxon ACC Game of the Week was brought to you by Exxon and their independent dealers and distributors, who invite you to stop by for the reliable performance of Exxon 93 Supreme Gasoline. Rely on the Tiger. By the Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company, the vision to power your dreams. By Hardee's, your tailgating headquarters and a proud partner with the Atlantic Coast Conference. By First Union, when it comes to service, everything matters. By BC Powder, no matter where you're hurting, nothing works faster than BC Powder. And by your local Carolina Dodge dealer, home of the minivan store and America's truck stop.
Tim Brando happy to be along for the ride with Jack Corrigan here in November as your ACC Football Saturday continues on Jefferson Pilot Sports. Let's do it again next week.
Sounds good.
34-10 with 2:45 to play. Busby, the quarterback, Tiger McMillan in the backfield. And that run from Rendell Long. Rendell gets it inside the 15-yard line to the 14.
Well, for the Seminoles, they got through the sandwich game, the one they were concerned about, to not fall off too much after the Duke game last week, and Notre Dame and NC State and Florida looming ahead.
Here comes Busby looking for a block. Can't get it. Down at the 11-yard line. Bobby Bowden, what a tremendous career he's had, and at the same time, you know, you talk to Bobby and you say, well, you did lose the game to Miami. He says, yeah, but you know, I don't want to sell. I got to sell the idea and the concept. We can still win it. I know Penn State's out there. I know Nebraska's out there. But hey, you know, it's pretty easily done when you lose to Notre Dame and a week later you're number one.
Well, they're going to need somebody to knock off Miami, whether it is Syracuse tonight or perhaps Boston College later in the year, so that they can get that Orange Bowl berth opposite likely Nebraska. And there is the big win for the Duke Blue Devils, bouncing back from their first loss. They hold on and knock off Virginia at Durham. They go to 8-1 on the year, guarantee themselves probably in all likelihood a bowl game of major impact.
Boy, wasn't it fashionable to just throw dirt on them after the debacle in Tallahassee? And they respond. That's why college football is special. 2nd and 7. A little over a minute to play. McMillan's got plenty of room. Down to the 1-yard line. Jimmy Clements and Ryan Stewart combine on the tackle.
Fred Goldsmith figured out a way to get Duke back. Bobby Bowden kept his team up and looking ahead to the big game in Orlando next weekend against Notre Dame, with Georgia Tech having to deal with the Clemson Tigers next week, and Clemson trying to spring the upset against North Carolina at Chapel Hill leading in the 3rd quarter at last report.
It'll really be interesting to see if they actually run this play or that Busby just takes the knee. They'll run the play. It's a bootleg. It's a touchdown. That will not sit favorably with some of the faithful here.
Well, what you saw right there, Tim, I think is one of the things that is the result of pole positioning.
Absolutely.
Because you have to be decisive in victories now, and I think Bobby Bowden's druthers would have been just to take a knee and leave it at 34-10, but you got to win by big scores.
You are right on, Jack. Absolutely. Bowery's boot is good. The same kind of conversation that we used to have about running it up no longer exists. I mean, you can throw that argument out. The fans don't like it, but with the system that we currently have, the coach really has no other alternative. He's got to score when possible, and at the same time, Busby's in the game. They have a nice little drive going. You don't tell your backups, hey, you can't play. Right. So it's a combination of both of those.
Well, with the victory by Duke this afternoon, we can at least partially update some of the ACC standings. Florida State with their 23rd consecutive conference victory as they add to their record. They have yet to taste defeat since joining the ACC 3 seasons ago, and they have one more conference game on the 19th at Raleigh against North Carolina State. Well, I guess we have a little technical problem. We won't get that for you.
Virginia. Boy, did he build Florida State from the ground up in 19 years. He has been truly successful. This will be career win 246 for Bobby. Omar Cassidy will down it, and we'll have a few more plays for Georgia Tech. It's a 41-10 game with 17 seconds remaining. I've said this before about Bobby Bowden. I've known him a long time. That first year with Woodham and Jordan, and there you see the standings you were talking about, and particularly Duke, what this does for them is incredible. Puts them back into that New Year's Day bold coalition situation. I made the statement earlier about Bobby Bowden. He had a chance in '79. He went in 6-0 to play in Baton Rouge, and he was playing Charlie McClendon's last team at LSU, and he said, you know, if I can't beat a 3-2 LSU team with a 6-0 Florida State team, I might take that job at LSU. He won it. He stayed at Florida State. The rest is history.
Willie Gonzalez, the third-string quarterback, gets a snap or two.
And the handoff goes to number 22, T.J. Johnson. And that'll do it. Our final score, Florida State 41 and Georgia Tech 10, as Bobby Bowden secures his 23rd consecutive ACC victory for Bill Lewis. Back to the drawing board.
Still, he has never lost in the ACC. Backup quarterback Graham Stroman just came in for one possession, gets sacked by Derek Brooks. The fumble's recovered by Andre Wadsworth, and it sets up a touchdown. Danny Kanell, 8 yards to Melvin Pearsall. 14-3 at that point. They hold on 41-10 for the blowout. Warrick Dunn, 13 carries, 174 yards. Spoke with Irish coach Lou Holtz and asked if he felt he could prove something this week.
No, I don't think anything this year has anything to do with last year. We played them last year. If there's ever any revenge, I think it'd be on the part of Florida State because we beat them last year. We just know Florida State's an awful fine football team, and we want to play well and would like to.
Big win on the road.
Absolutely. They're trying to make their statement in the polls. A lot of teams were today. But how big did the Seminoles have to win? Well, they had to at least cover the 23-point spread, ideally do a lot more with Notre Dame looming next week. But Georgia Tech was ready for them early today, although Bobby Bowden was hoping it would be a little easier than the 92 visit up there. Wasn't until the second quarter, though, that the Seminoles got on the board. Danny Kanell going to Melvin Pearsall for the first of a pair of scoring passes to the tight end. It was 7-3. Later in the quarter, the defense would set up a score. Derek Brooks, who had a great game with the sack, causes the fumble. That set up Pearsall's second touchdown catch. Still, it was just 14-3 at the half. But on Florida State's first possession of the third quarter, lightning struck. Warrick Dunn picks his way through the hole. Another burst of speed right there, and he is gone. 64 yards. He would finish with 174 yards on the afternoon. Then came a big play by Omar Ellison. He's made a lot of them his senior season. Kanell puts it up along the sideline. Ellison, well, he'll fudge a little bit with a push, but makes the great catch anyway. That set up Rock Preston with the score that put it out of reach. Florida State rolls on to the 41-10 victory. Afterwards, the Seminoles kind of nonchalant about the big win.
Well, it's the same old cliche. Georgia Tech's a lot better than their record. They've had some terrible breaks this year. When you get the boys injured that they've had injured, you know, it's nearly unfair.
We're really happy to come out here and get a good win. We knew they could give us trouble, and they're a good team. You know, you can't really look at their record because they have some great athletes, and their defense coaches did a really good job calling a game against us, and it was really a good game to get the running game going because it's something we need to add some confidence in that. Last week, you know, we got the passing game going, and this week we got the running game going some. So I think it was overall performance. The most important thing is we got the win.
You know, they threw the ball to me today. They kind of did some things that they went back to some old things. They went back to the basics. That's why I think it kind of made a difference in the game today.
And what about the other North Florida team?
Were last night. Robin Roberts is ready to guide us through our opening hour, Sports Weekly. And Robin, just when I thought George Foreman was running out of energy, just when I thought another sport was going to be struck by a work stoppage, George, instead of stopping work, stopped more. Robin, does this give you new respect for those of us who just happen to be over 40?
George, Dick, after all these years, you know that I respect my elders, but I really like something that George Foreman said on SportsCenter last night. He was grateful for the opportunity to be able to become heavyweight champion of the world again.
Well, they also gave him the opportunity to have his brain scrambled, and fortunately he avoided that.
That he did. We'll check with you throughout the morning, Dick. Last Sunday, we're talking about the 20th anniversary of George Foreman's loss to Ali in Zaire, something that has haunted Foreman for 2 decades. 6 days after the anniversary, George Foreman is saying, "What ghost of Muhammad Ali?" We take a look at the highlights. Michael Moore and George Foreman for the IBF and WBA heavyweight championship. He stunned Foreman early. Terry Atlas urging his fighter on. 10th round, George Foreman lands a left-right combination. Then a devastating right sends Moore to the canvas with a bloody mouth. Joe Cortez gets the count to 10. Michael Moore loses his belt To 45-year-old George Foreman taking a look. He sets up Moore with a left jab, and then the powerful right stuns him, sending him to the canvas for the first time in his career. And George Foreman's prayers are answered. He's the heavyweight champion of the world again. The first time Moore has been knocked out in his career. It's the 68th knockout Foreman has delivered. And he did it wearing the same trunks he wore against Ali on October 30th, 1974.
Well, I'm going in as the champ of the world with these trunks on tonight. And I roped them around. They looked a little ugly, but they were the trunks, and it made me feel like, hey, I'm not a challenger. I am the champion.
To be honest, I didn't see it. What we were talking about in the gym was a sneaky right hand after his jab, and he caught me. What else can you say?
Well, you can say that Foreman became the oldest fighter to win a title in any weight class at 203 the 10th round. The previous oldest heavyweight champ had been Jersey Joe Wolcott, a mere 37 when he KO'd Ezzard Charles back in 1951. Charlie Steiner and Al Bernstein were ringside last night in Las Vegas, and they'll share their perspective with us. Long delays, they finished the game with the fans still on the field.
Games, including the Orange and Rose Bowls. Who's the national champion?
Well, I think if Nebraska beats Miami in the Orange Bowl, you have to say, hey, Nebraska beat Colorado and beat Miami on the road. Penn State's greatest feat was winning at Michigan. I would think you would have to give it to Nebraska.
But suppose Nebraska loses, and do you think Nebraska will beat Miami?
No, I thought last August the way Penn State would win it, playing in the Big Ten, which is not a tough conference, winning the Rose Bowl, not playing a tough non-conference schedule. Yes, if Miami beats Nebraska, is Penn State's #1 and deserves it, 12-0.
But you think Miami will beat Nebraska?
Yeah, I think Miami has the advantage of playing at home. If they played in Omaha, I think Nebraska would win. Miami beat Nebraska for the national title in 1983 and the '84 Orange Bowl only because the game was in the Orange Bowl.
Okay, who's your front runner now for the Heisman, or is it a front passer?
Well, I think mine is still Kerry Collins, but I think it's going to come down to Collins or Carter. And people will say, well, two players from the same team, Penn State. In 1945, Doc Blanchard won it, and Glenn Davis was second. I don't think two players from the same team. I think one of those players will win it. Right now, my vote would be for Collins, and I would vote Carter second. 190 yards and 20 carries. My God, he's something.
Okay. Tell us your top five, Bino.
Okay. Number 5, I have Florida. That one lost to Auburn. Number 4, I have Alabama. Now listen, Richard, if Alabama wins at Mississippi State, beats Florida for the championship, beats Auburn, and wins in the Sugar Bowl, and they're not #1, you're going to get a lot of crying down in Alabama. Number 3, I still have Auburn, a miracle team over 2 years. Number 2, Penn State, and number 1, Nebraska until beaten.
Okay, Bino, thanks very much. We'll check it out again next week.
One last thing.
Back to you, Rob. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I picked Syracuse last week. I will eat crow. I wish this was the day they had that racing and we didn't have any show. I apologize for Miami for the gall to pick Syracuse.
Oh, God, I wasn't going to tell anybody you did that. Back to you, Robin.
Sure you weren't, Dick.
In the third quarter, when Florida State needed something to happen, Deion Sanders answered with a 76-yard touchdown return to make it 14-14. And, Bert, I'll tell you what, he pointed for that touchdown. He let the Clemson bench know he's going to get that touchdown. He headed straight upfield and got it in the end zone.
Not since William Bendix pointed over the field and hit it out.
Of course, that ball game staged knotted at 14-14 going into the fourth quarter. And with 8:27 left to go in the ball game, Dane Williams comes off tackle again with a big blast, and Florida State takes its first lead at that time. But Clemson comes back shortly thereafter with 2:32 to go, and they tie the score. And then Bert,
and then the big one. Then the big one. They line up for a punt, and everybody figured that FSU had to go ahead and kick and try like heck to get the ball back. But way down deep inside, knowing Bobby Dodd as well as we do, we thought something was coming up. But never, ever in our life did we. I never heard of the Punarooski. It's now become the jargon that's thrown around a lot.
Leroy Butler took off down that left sideline. Granted, he didn't score, but he put us in great position for Richie Andrews to come in and kick a 19-yard field goal to win 24-21, and Florida State had their gut check and set their season record upwards to the Sugar Bowl.
Join us again next week for another great moment in Florida State football. Travel arrangements for the Bobby Bowden Show provided by U.S. Air. No other airline serves more Florida cities.
Boy, the Ponderuski in that game at Clemson, Deion Sanders heroics. What a great football game.
That was a great one of all-time greats, boy.
Good to see Vic and Bert relive another great moment. Here is our Nike question of the week, and Kathy Lumbert from Orlando, Florida asks Coach Bowden, I know we have to play all of the ACC teams each year, so my question is, how are the other teams picked that we play?
Well, you know, you're always going to play Florida and Miami, so that's all of your games except for one. You got one free pick, and then we just try to get the best team we can to fill the stadium and make money, so you have to do it, and you're 10 years ahead of time.
Yeah, so this year Notre Dame is the team outside of Miami and Florida, outside the ACC, Florida State will play. Because Kathy's question was selected and read on the air, she'll receive Nike merchandise. Send your question. Yeah, what's this? Whoops, where'd he go? It's Warrick Dunn. He's not that little.
Warrick Dunn went, what,
63 yards?
63 yards for his touchdown. Well, this is his longest run.
That matches his career best, and on his way to 174.
He got, what, 174 yards.
Yeah. Here he comes.
Let's see, got McNeil in there blocking. We got some good blocking from our wide receivers. Number 19, E.G. Green.
Ernie Green, yeah.
Ernie, I sure wish we could play him more because he's doing some good things. He's only a freshman, but that's very encouraging. Kanell. Andy Crow from Tallahassee, Florida, doing the snapping on the extra points. He had a perfect day. We take a 21-3 lead. But we go right back into the shotgun, see? And he hits McCorvey here, makes a real fine run. Watch him. Very good open field runner. He's so quick.
Yards after the catch.
Look at that block coming back. I believe that was Omar.
On that block,
Omar coming back.
Yeah, he comes back with a big catch.
Nice catch by Omar. Omar is our most improved football player, in my opinion, right now.
Oh, this is a great catch.
He's our most improved football player. He is just really becoming a threat.
That was 3rd and 19.
Right. And look, here comes number 24. 24, old Rock Preston from Miami, Florida. His brother starts at Ole Miss. Look at Zach Crockett there on a real key block. Hernandez on a real good block. Number 66 in there, Lewis Tyre. You know, Lewis lost his grandmother Friday. He lost his grandmother Friday, yes, mother called me, and so he's gone. I'm sure gone home. He came home, went back home after our game.
Sorensen.
Drove back to Sorensen, and I think they're having a funeral Sunday. I'm not sure, but we felt rid of him. Great play by their guy. I believe that I see Mr. Fuller let the guy get on his inside.
It looked like he got inside.
Now I thought he had that saw, but maybe he can get it back.
Now that'll jack us down, trailing just by 18 points, Coach. A great play for him, and
they picked a little momentum up. We get it back right here. Yeah.
This is 4th down.
Yeah. Watch. Bush, Pete Bulware, and Kanell Spain has really started playing late.
Last 2 games, number 96.
He's been very obvious. And here's here comes, is this Mr. Dunn here? Oh, look at that 77 down there blocking. Come on, nail somebody. Yeah. He's down there anyway. And then here comes Rock again. Oh, McNeil leading the way. But look at 81 blocking. 81. Pearsall blocked his man all the way off the field.
Yeah, knocked him
blocked him all the way off the field. That's excellent. Then here comes old Mr. Lowry.
Perfect on the day. Dan Lowry.
Isn't that amazing? Really, I think it's the best kicking we've had. I can't remember when we've had better kicking than what we had Saturday. Extra points good, field goals good, kickoffs excellent, punting good, and all by Mr. Mowry. Here comes old Kez McCorvey, a senior, showing you why he's our second probably leading rusher, or very close to our second leading rusher. I think he was behind Barry Smith, and he's close to his record.
Receiver, yeah.
Can't catch Ron Sutters.
He moved past Barry.
Did he move past Barry?
He's number 2.
He's now number 2 all
yards,
time. Yeah. Gosh, look at here. Who is that? Is that Spires?
Andre
Spires at 54?
54, yeah, and then Andre Wadsworth, the 2.
And Andre Wadsworth and Spires, another freshman. Wadsworth, a freshman. We got some young kids. And here comes Busby, a freshman. And he got his little score. And there's Larry Fleming there from Fort Walton Beach, and then 41-10. Look at the crowd there, man. We had a great Florida State crowd, and we were very fortunate to win the game.
Especially in that end zone, that one end zone where we almost had the safety. The quarterback could not hear the signals, and he couldn't change the play because that Seminole crowd was making so much noise back there.
Yeah, that was our crowd behind their goal
right behind
line,
their goal,
making all the noise. Thank you, Seminoles.
Florida State now, one more ACC game to go, but between now and then, it's Notre Dame next Saturday. We'll come